It is rare in sports, hell, it's rare in life, for you to lose but somehow gain in the process. But in mixed martial arts, occasionally losses are not only of benefit, but they're massive boons. There are moments that boost your status as much as any victory ever could, and set you on a trajectory towards bigger and better things, and all because you came up short in spectacular fashion. I'm Tommy from MMA On Point, and these are 10 losses that were actually amazing for fighters' careers. Number 10, Clay lays wood. We were 2 years into the tough boom, and Roger Huerta had just done the cover of SI. He'd be showcasing his talents as the main event of the Tough 6 finale. Things were hot. His opponent that night would be a very game but not exactly popular yet Clay Guida, who was 2-2 in the UFC thus far. Now, Smart Money knew that this was actually the toughest fight that Huerta had up to that point in his career, given Guida's experience and strength of opponents. But the casual Spike TV watcher didn't know that until the horn sounded. Clay did his absolutely unhinged thing, and for 2 rounds was just relentlessly going after Huerta. Roger would barely survive the second round, but incredibly come back in the first minute of the third to secure a choke and get the win.
What a comeback for Roger Huerta! Wow!
The bout ended up being the fight of the year 2007, and in large part because of the incredible performance by Guida, Huerta's ability to endure, and the dramatic finish. And while Roger's stock went up temporarily, it would be Clay who would turn into a fan favorite, cementing that status a few fights later against Nate Diaz, then of course having the Hall of Fame throwdown with Diego Sanchez. 2 fight of the year fights, both losses, are still an insane feat, especially about a year apart, and they had everyone hyped anytime Guida was booked.
Clay Guida's been fighting the same way for 15 years. Clay Guida's gonna come out there and bludgeon you.
Number 9, Lopez tonight. In the pre-fight interview package before taking on Movsar Evloev, Diego Lopez said, "You might not know me now, but you'll remember me after this fight." And the son of a bitch wasn't telling lies. Lopez was in a position so impossible it actually worked to his benefit. On just 5 days' notice, he would make his UFC debut against the number 10 featherweight in the world. 2 years earlier, he'd lost his chance for the UFC on the Contender Series, and now he was hand-chosen by Evloev from a lineup of cannon fodder fighters to fill the slot of meat with name for his bout at UFC 288. He was meant to fight Kid Rock, but he drilled his balls or something.
And that don't look like much, but you're not gonna be able to resist that spin.
And so Movsar would get a showcase bout. The Russian was unbeaten and rightly a 9-1 favorite, but despite his impressive performance as expected, he was in some serious trouble with submissions from the absolutely game Lopez about 3 separate times, with the fight ending while Diego was trying to pull the guy's leg off.
Survives a huge challenge from the short notice newcomer Diego Lopez tonight.
The fight of the night instantly elevated Lopez from someone entirely unknown to someone to look out for, and back-to-back performance of the night finishes after that pretty much sealed the deal on his new hotness status. He'd actually find himself in a title fight less than 2 years after that Evloev debut, with the unbeaten Russian still unable to get himself quite there yet. Number 8, a groovy debut. Quick, what do you know about Lando Vannata? Bet your first answer was that he gave Tony Ferguson a really good fight near his peak, and yeah, that's right. Tony was number 3 in the lightweight division. He'd be interim champion in a year's time. Everybody thought beating Mike Chiesa like he was scheduled to would mean gold next. But 2 weeks out, Chiesa dropped, and Lando got the call up. Was he meant to debut? Nope. He was just an 8-0 fighter out of Jackson Wink. Honestly, they probably picked him because the team was already going to be there that night anyway. Lando came out cool as a cucumber, dropped Tony like 4 times, nearly finished him, then got choked in the second round.
Tony Ferguson rallies for his 8th consecutive UFC win.
Didn't matter. Holy shit, this guy beat up Tony Ferguson. Fight of the night, talk of the town. You couldn't ask for a better debut fight. A victory against anybody else, some other low-level guy, would have meant nothing compared to this loss. Lando was on the map now, and after an insane KO in his sophomore effort, Vannata went from debuting to co-main eventing a pay-per-view. Every one of his first 4 fights would earn him a bonus of some type, and the guy rode that wave of hype over his unexpected Tony Ferguson debut into a 13-fight UFC career, where the expectation anytime he stepped into the cage was that we'd see the groovy guy who took it to El Kukui one time. Number 7, big mouth, big heart.
Yeah, boy.
The UFC debut of Kevin Holland could have truly been the end of his whole career. Rejected from the Contender Series after a victory because Dana thought he talked too much.
The entire fight he was talking to me. So I said, I'm not signing this guy. I don't want him. I'm not interested in him.
He was essentially thrown to the wolves when the promotion was in need of someone to step in on 2 weeks' notice against MC Hammer. When everybody else turned it down, Dana called on Big Mouth in a sink or swim situation against a big scary ranked guy on a pay-per-view no less. But the debut was a tentative chance, and if he went out and got dog-walked, there wasn't going to be another fight. Despite losing 2 of 3 rounds and getting 10-8'd in the third, Kevin Holland did what Kevin Holland does. Had a blast out there, had exciting moments, and talked all sorts of shit the whole time. It was the Kevin Holland everybody has come to love, and that love affair really kicked off on that night. The most smitten of all, Dana himself.
Much respect to Holland. He was very impressive tonight. We will give him the proper time to train, get ready for a fight, and we'll give him another fight.
With the high-profile and interesting debut, Kevin was off to the races and would start rattling off wins and building a fandom. All the elements that have made him a fan favorite were present that night, and it's why they'll keep booking the guy no matter how many times he loses. Number 6, a Goldless Opportunity. Now, I'm not a conspiracist, but if I was, I might be so inclined to think that Demetrius Johnson was totally fine, if not happy, that he lost the longest defended title in UFC history to Henry Cejudo in a razor-thin decision because he knew that no longer being champion freed him up to go play in Singapore with his best friend, head coach VP of one championship, and that his life would be infinitely better, which it was. At the time, DJ was going through it in the UFC. He wasn't drawing, fans were starting to hate him for dumb reasons. You had Dana out there talking crazy shit about him.
He has the lowest selling pay-per-view in the history of the UFC. It's not me. I'm bullying you? How do you bully the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world?
It was just not a tenable situation for Mighty Mouse, and losing that strap could not have been better for him. From it, he got the bunny ears trade with Ben Askren, headed over to One, and really became a star attraction for the promotion. People who do not watch One, like me, but watch mixed martial arts, probably saw some of DJ's fights, particularly his Adriana trilogy. And not only did he get this awesome deal where his head coach was an exec for the promotion he fought for, he got to add to his legacy legitimately elsewhere, and the framing of his career changed considerably with fans after he left. It's like they suddenly remembered that he was amazing. Best possible outcome from that Cejudo loss. Number 5, the other half. I mean, the benefits of losing one of the most seminal fights in UFC history were immediate when, despite the loss in the tough finale, on the spot, Stephan Bonnar was granted a UFC contract as well as the winner, Forrest Griffin. And while nearly everybody from the show would end up in the UFC, Bonnar got slightly more money than the rest of the season's runners-up, so that's something. Did you know that 6-figure contract was paid over 3 years? Doesn't sound anywhere near as cool when you frame it that way, though. Anyway, losing to Forrest Griffin could not have gone better for Bonnar. It was an all-time moment that pretty much gave him fan favorite status for the lifetime of his career. His tooth and nail style and enjoyable wild man persona, both of which were cultivated on Tough and more specifically in that loss, meant that no matter who Bonnar was fighting, fans were tuning in. By Fight Night 4, Bonnar was a headliner when he took on Keith Jardine, setting him up for major back-to-back fights with Rashad Evans and a rematch with Griffin. He was a part of that UFC 100 card when a lot of fighters were not. When they needed someone on short notice for Anderson Silva in 2012, they called on a super tan, super jacked Bonnar.
Steroids, Brian.
The loss to Griffin immediately defined who Stephan was, and that carried through to the very end of his career and kept him in the UFC despite never really making it to the top of the division for nearly a decade.
Oh crap, I guess I have to do this for a living.
Number 4, Hall of Fame loss. How great was losing to John Jones for undisputed 205 gold for Alexander Gus? He ended up on the cover of EA UFC's first game. You know how many other losers of fights ended up on the cover of a video game for losing a fight? Literally nobody. When Jones and Gus fought, absolutely nobody cared who Alex was and assumed he had absolutely no chance. The big draw, the big hook for the fight? He's tall. He's marginally taller than John Jones. Look out, champ, you're in big trouble now. It was a nothing burger of a headliner beyond that JBJ was shaping up to be the greatest light heavyweight ever and was going to defend his title again. But of course, the fight would be an absolute banger, so much so that it ended up in the UFC Hall of Fame for being a banger, and even though there was a ton of outcry at the time that Gus won, retrospect has proven that point less impactful, but he's still very much one of the only people to ever bring a fight to JBJ, and it skyrocketed the Mauler's career. It massively boosted Swedish MMA. They ended up having shows there. Alex was pretty much main event status going forward, even though we would have to wait a stupid amount of time for a second fight, and by that point Gus just didn't have it left in him. But he had a huge boom period off the momentum of almost beating John Jones. Shout out to Dominic Reyes, who to a lesser extent got a similar rub after his very close fight with Bones. Number 3, the Rumble Renaissance. The best thing that ever happened to Rumble Johnson was losing to Vitor Belfort. Not just losing to Vitor, which is exactly what he did in less than 5 minutes via rear naked choke, but doing so after missing weight by 11 whole pounds. His third such weight miss that would result in him being fired from the UFC. Despite tremendous promise, Rumble simply could not get his weight under control, in large part because he was insanely trying to fight at both welterweight initially and then middleweight.
I'm glad I didn't take any serious damage from losing so much weight, because I was dropping from 210 down to 170. Which is, 40 pounds right there.
It just wasn't going to happen. The dude was fucking huge. He'd go to the regional scene and miss weight yet again against David Branch before finally realizing maybe I should just fight at light heavyweight. Maybe that would be a good thing for me to do, fight at a weight I can make. And so he did. Johnson would go on a 5-fight tear at his new weight, even make a pit stop at heavyweight to break Andrei Arlovsky's jaw in World Series of Fighting, and with his weight issues resolved and his incredible run, he was back in the UFC, where he would score 3 straight victories to earn himself a shot at the light heavyweight title.
I feel amazing at 205. I'm happy. Like I said, I can eat. I can enjoy myself now. Life is just beautiful.
And none of this would have happened if the guy didn't miss weight, get choked by Vitor, and then get fired for his troubles. The ultimate silver lining to a complete disaster. Number 2, Gangsters Don't Dance. Chael Sonnen is so undefeated and so undisputed that his losses are better for him than the guy who beat him. And he was doing this before he even made it into the UFC. When Chael cried out in pain against Paulo Filho, who had him dead to rights in an arm bar in their WEC title bout, which was then stopped by the referee, the bad guy was able to leverage that moment into a rematch by saying that the fight was unfairly stopped.
But I proclaimed no. I proclaimed it over and over, no, 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 and they stopped the fight. I'm very disappointed.
Cut to 3 years later, Chael P at the peak of his powers, going into a fight with Anderson Silva for UFC middleweight gold that he completely carried on the back of his unprecedented for the time period shit-talking campaign against the Spider.
He's not qualified to make Frank Mir a sandwich.
I'm sore, tired, under the weather, overtrained, undermotivated, and still tough enough to beat this guy.
Sonnen wrote a whole check that his ass would have to cash in the cage, and son of a bitch, he did it for about 23 minutes. The seemingly invincible Silva was down 5 rounds going to the cards and pulled off a miracle triangle armbar to rip the title back from Westland's finest. It was a devastating blow for Chael that would get even worse when he pissed hotter than Salma Hayek afterwards and got himself a year of time out. You would think that being a big old cheater would have devastated Sonnen's career, but you clearly don't know the bad guy because he was more popular than ever after that performance. Steroids? Never heard of him. Chael Sonnen's fan base grew exponentially after that loss and shot him to the very top of drawing power in the UFC. The rematch with Anderson was a cultural moment. Everybody wanted to see if he could do it again, and everything he built after that was all on that one incredible loss to Silva. Number 1, Rockhold Redemption. All my homies hated Luke Rockhold, and so did pretty much everybody else. Coming into the UFC, the man had the momentum of a runaway freight train as the reigning defending Strikeforce middleweight champion, and so his arrogant, sort of aloof Swayzean Point Break persona was fine. I guess it wasn't anything people cared too much about yet. People were excited to see him debut. Then he got a big heaping helping of Schadenfreude when TRT Tor spinning heel kicked his head off. After that, Rockhold started winning as expected though, burning through contenders all the way to the middleweight title, where he gained some serious respect for his gritty performance in taking it from Chris Weidman. But then things took a turn, because there's nothing people love more than seeing a good-looking, arrogant person who underestimated their opponent get shown up. And that's exactly what happened when Bisping took his gold in a massive upset.
God, that guy's such a dick.
Despite Mike's dickish behavior towards Luke, everybody was like, yeah, fuck this guy. And so started the weird lolcow period of Rockhold's career. Well, after he beat David Branch a year later, but then he would lose to Yoel Romero, who would get all kissy-kissy after the fight, humiliating Rockhold even further, and then he would move to 205, where he would be hilariously KO'd by Jan Blachowicz.
He broke his jaw tonight. I'd like to see him hang it up.
His career had become a punchline, and the sentiment going into the last bout of his MMA career was that this guy was a cocky underachiever who probably could have been an all-time great, but couldn't get out of his own stupid way. And I explain all of that to say that so much of it wiped away in that Paulo Costa fight. You have to remember, this was years after the 205 debacle. We hadn't seen this man in the cage, but all those old feelings about him were right there on the surface again when he walked out to fight Paulo. But in a gritty performance where we would absolutely see him lose, but go full "you don't know where I've been, Lou" on Paulo.
Oh my God!
Fans suddenly had a massive change of heart about the former champion.
What a fight!
That crowd was going absolutely ballistic.
His passion for the sport really got to shine through, and a lot of people felt like they maybe misunderstood the guy. It's honestly amazing how a single fight where he showed heart, even though he didn't win a single round, really redefined the perception and respect towards him after a pretty long period where fans just didn't really want anything to do with the guy. But you know who wouldn't make this list because they've never lost? The editor of this video, Max Randall. Follow him on all his socials and go check out his awesome YouTube channel. A massive thanks to our channel members. Seriously, you guys are amazing. Thank you for the support. Fight fans, if you hit the join button, you become a member. You get exclusive content. There's one low price. You can't beat it. Like and subscribe to lose your way onto the cover of a video game. Leave a comment about other fighters who lost and somehow gained your respect. And thank you guys so much for watching. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.